Perfect. We are going live first on YouTube, and then we go live on Facebook. So let's go live. We're going live on Facebook. Yes. I think I'm live. Perfect. I'm also live on Facebook. And now we are finalizing the live sync with Instagram. So I think we are ready. Yes. So I'm really happy to be speaking to you today. I think I'm live on all our devices, from YouTube to Facebook to the Instagram accounts. So we are starting our live broadcast for today. Today is going to be me hosting it. Normally it used to be a group thing, but now we're all socially isolated. So we need to do what we gotta do. I'm gonna wait for a bit more people to connect before starting. But you can see that I'm doing advertising in the meanwhile with our now's hat. And actually, this is not only I'm not wearing it only because of advertising reason, but also because of my haircut that I ideally needed. So I'm covering my hair with the hat. So I see people connecting all our platforms. That's amazing. Today's topic is twofold. So we're gonna first start with a brief update on our campaigns, how everything is going, how is the COVID situation impacting our operations, and a general update on now as usual. And then I will take some time to actually deep dive into a topic that is obviously truly important for all of us, but also for now, because tomorrow we're gonna host a debate with the chief scientist of the World Health Organization. So we're gonna talk a lot about the role of the World Health Organization in the current crisis. I'm gonna wait the people in the meanwhile. In the current crisis, and how, let's say, all the political controversies that have impacted the reputation of the organization. And so today I did my homework and I analyzed a bit the last few months, the unfolding of the crisis and the role that the WHO played in the crisis itself. And I must say I'm really, really shocked by some news. I mean, obviously some stuff are really widely known, but others are really not known. And I'm gonna try to go through a bit the chronological events with you guys, and obviously then tackle and discuss any point you might find more interesting. So first part of the live is about now and the organization and the campaigns. Second part of the live, we're gonna go we're gonna deep dive into COVID-19, the World Health Organization's role in it, and a lot of the controversies that have covered that have hit the organization. Because as I said, tomorrow we're gonna have an event about it. So if we are all ready for it, it's 6:03, and I think we are ready to start. Let me see if all our channels are online. So let me move one second this phone. Yes, so I see YouTube, Facebook, perfect. We are completely live. I'm gonna share also the Facebook broadcast on my personal page, and we are gonna start. In the meanwhile, I see many members joining. It's really cool. I must say that the community of now is growing really exponential and being, trying to build something global. That's really amazing in these difficult times. And we didn't expect that. We were really worried that COVID would have been a big slowdown for our operation, but actually we see a lot of activities. So we are almost there, and I'm gonna share it on my personal Facebook page for those that follow me there. Okay, share to a page. Let's do it. Fantastic. So I think that now we are officially ready to start. So let's first jump into now. So I think that if you're following the stream, after 3 months of existence, maybe you know what now is, but I'll take 5 minutes to remind all of you what you're trying to do here. So now was created on the 1st of January 2020. The idea came from before, and I know you would love to hear the story, and I would love to tell you the story, but we have a special event on Thursday for all our members where we're actually gonna uncover the history of now, and also try to give a bit the emotional side of it and why we started this crazy movement and the political events that impacted the choice, from the Hong Kong protests to the fires in Australia, and why we believe that a global movement is dearly needed. So I want to repeat it today. So I push all of you to become member before Thursday. The event will be Thursday at 6 p.m. Central European time. So I push you and I invite you to become members to join it. But I can tell you in brief that now is a global movement starting now 4 months ago with the aim of uniting humans to, let's say, counter the biggest challenges of our time. When we started, we were thinking about climate change, we were thinking about economic inequalities, the erosion of human rights and democracy, and then epidemics joined the list. I mean, they were already in the list, but it was more a theoretical point, the idea of having to deal with a global epidemics. But a couple of months later, we actually understood that theory is actually reality. And so today we find ourselves with a growing global movement of thousands of members in more than 80 countries, probably now it's more than 90. A growing internal community with a quite lively forum with people exchanging information, news, updates on what they're doing at local level. A growing number of teams, because now we're opening a lot of local teams. If you go, for example, on our Facebook page and you check the group part of the community, you see that we have already a few groups, so they are live there. Many are being developed across Europe, across Africa, across South America, and soon we're going to be also in North America, in Asia, and we have a lot of motivated members that are really, in front of the historical events. They are saying, okay, whoa, I didn't expect that. I didn't want maybe to put my time into activism, in political activism, social activism, but now I know they have no choice. Now I know that it's the right thing to do. And so we have all these wonderful people joining from every corner of this planet. Like today I received emails from Uganda, I received emails from Indonesia. So it's really motivating. It's tough because the world is big. We have many time zones. We still have troubles with time zones, but it's wonderful. I see now joining in the live Natalie from Mexico. I saw some people, some of our members from Tunisia. I see Claudia from London. It's always there for us. So really a wonderful mix of individuals, and we are building this movement. So if you believe that after this, if you were not sure, but after these epidemics, you are completely convinced that maybe there are global problems and no countries can solve it alone, maybe you should actually think about joining. It's really fun, and if you don't like it, you can always let it go and just come sometimes for a drink or a chat. But it's really a motivating movement, and since the beginning, it was only 4 months ago, we already launched 2 campaigns. One about what we call the global climate emergency. So you have to backtrack your brain, rewind your brain 3 to 4 months ago, and remember when there was the big crisis of the Australian fires. And back then we said, okay, what's the number one problem we are facing as a planet? And we said, okay, it's climate. There is no way to escape that. What can we do? Because we see Australia, we see huge problems, and still the government in Australia was not thinking about cutting emission, was not prioritizing the environment over business and other topics. So we said, okay, we need to do something. And we realized that there was something that no one has ever tried. Basically, the UN, that it's not the world governments, but it's kind of like the stage where all governments from all over the planet try to interact and work together, have a body called the United Nations Security Council. That is basically the only body in the whole construct that has binding powers over its members. So basically, whatever the UN Security Council decides, the world has to follow. Obviously, it's not as straightforward as this. Obviously, it's really difficult to make the UN Security Council take certain decisions, but that's what is in the treaty. So if you don't abide, you are out of the UN. And so we say, whoa, we are this wonderful place. We have a huge climate crisis arising. So let's try to tackle it from there. Let's try to push this body to actually take decisions that will force everyone in the world to take this crisis seriously. And so we started a campaign. We were like 2 people when we launched a campaign, me and Colombe. And out of that, we received a lot of incredible support. We received thousands of signatures. We opened a lot of teams all over the world pushing this campaign. And basically what we're trying to do is to convince the states currently sitting in the Security Council. We have 15 members in the Security Council. 5 are always the same. They are France, the UK, Russia, China, and the US. They are called the P5, the permanent 5 members. And they're basically those that have won the Second World War. It's a bit sad because, clearly the geopolitics and also like global democracy has a bit changed in the last 75 years, but still we have the same 5 bosses sitting at the table. And then there are other 10 countries that rotate, and they are basically kind of taken from all continents. So you have sometimes 2 countries from South America, 3 from Europe, 2 from Africa, and so on. And so basically these 15 countries take decisions that are aimed at avoiding crisis, conflicts, and maintaining peace in the world. Normally these kind of decisions are more about crises like the massacre in Rwanda or Yemen or Libya and so on. But we asked for it to be about climate. And I must say that we see a lot of potential there. The UK government has already answered to us, has taken in consideration our request. We had also some really positive answers from obviously small island states like St. Vincent and the Grenadines that sit basically in the Security Council, and they are the one that at the forefront of the battle against climate change. So it's definitely it's a long-term effort. We won't convince the Security Council in 2 months to take a decision, but we believe that it's exactly there that we have to intervene, because we have global institutions, they have global powers to solve global problems. We shall use them, because it's not like a problem like the climate emergency is really similar to the pandemics we are into today. Even if our own country was doing the best job ever, was stopping all infected people from coming in, was stopping completely emissions, if we talk about climate change, it wouldn't be enough. We wouldn't be solving any problem. No single country has the power and the capacity to tackle global problems. We are in it together. And it's super clear when you think about the fact that there are private companies, they are global by nature. Like right now I'm talking on 3 different social media, and we are all connected around the world in most countries. Take away China and you get almost every country. But most citizens of the world have access to this platform. And despite that, we still don't have policies, regulations, or simply a way to affect change that is as global as social media. So this is something we have to change. And for that, we attack the Security Council for Climate Change. And this is the first campaign that we rolled out. The second campaign was launched on March 8th, and it's about women's rights. So we know that, unless you are incredibly blind or honestly dumb, that women are discriminated around the world. And so we said, how can we try to help there? It's really tough to solve all the problems of social groups like women. Like, there are thousands of discriminations. Some are rooted since, decades or centuries or millennia even. So what can we do to try to tackle the source of the problem? And we understood that for us, at least, the source of the problem is that the fact that women don't have a seat at the table, don't have the power to choose for themselves. All legislations, all policies are mostly done by men. There are only a few countries in the world, like 3 or 4, that actually have a parliament or legislative bodies that are gender balanced. All the others, they are mostly men in it. And even if men are extremely progressive, open, or whatever, which is not the case often, it's really difficult to, legislate on something that you don't know. That's why diversity is always better, whether you speak about the public sector, the private sector, or any other sector. And so we said, okay, since we have these, there are many problems, there is a way to solve it again. There is basically having more women in power. Let's push for that. Let's ensure that in as many countries in the world, we pass legislations to create quotas or incentives for women to sit in position of power. And this is how we started. We created a coalition of now more than 40 politicians from all over the world, senators, mayors, really important the activists as well, on the fight on the ground of human rights, women's rights. And then COVID hit, so it was a bit more tough to push the campaign for a month and or so. But we are reaching really good results, and we open teams all over the world to push on this front as well. And both these campaigns will be both this one on women and the one on the global climate emergency will be advanced on the ground all over the world by our local teams, and are being currently revived by our wonderful team of made by Laura, our campaign manager, and Bettina, our communication manager. They're working really hard to push ahead this campaign, where Colombe and I, the original founders are thinking more ahead about other topics, new campaigns, and so on. So we create a really good team that is going to be able to push ahead these campaigns while producing new ones, because obviously we're going to have new campaigns coming in. And now that we managed to wrestle with COVID enough, we managed to get our team together, get our system functioning also without ground events, flying, and so on. We are ready to take up new challenges. And this is why I invite you once more to come on Thursday to our community chat, but you have to be a member for that, because we will not only talk about the story of now and what we started, but we'll also start discussing about new campaigns we want to take over, we want to bring forward. So if you are a member of Now, come on Thursday, 6 p.m. You receive today an email with the details to join. If you're not a member of Now, you better become one. If you want to solve the biggest problems of our time. If you don't, there are many other initiatives you should join. So I can't speak for all of them, but I know that ours is definitely worth the time we ask you to invest in. So this was like a brief update on our campaigns. Sorry, I spoke a lot. I become a really let's say heated up when we speak about our campaigns, because I think that they are amazing and so much needs to be done. I'm waving to some members on Instagram that I see joining. It's really cool to see so many members joining. And now I propose that I go quickly through some questions that we received. I see people waving from Amsterdam, and a lot of members joining. And then I will jump straight into our discussion of today. There's the one about China and the World Health Organization role in COVID. So it's not an easy discussion. That's why I did a lot of research that I can't wait to share with you. But I will drink a sip of water and wait for you to, if you have any question, to share it now before I jump to the next topic. I see already Omis commenting from Spain. He's one of our members. He's going to fight for our Run Like a Woman campaign. It's really cool to see you here, Omis. And scrolling up. Laura is really excited for tomorrow's debate. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. European time or with Geneva time, we're going to have this debate with the World Health Organization. That's why I'm going to talk about it right now. Okay, I think we are ready for it. So, what I did this afternoon was, I don't know you guys, but I read a lot about the current situation we are into with COVID. I mean, we are bombed by information every day. And I was receiving a lot of information about how, according, for example, to President Trump, the World Health Organization has majorly, can I say it, fucked up, while other countries are defending its operate, and others are saying, look, it's the best option we have, or others are saying we need to completely change the way the World Health Organization works. So I said, okay, let's do a bit of research, and let's try to put together kind of a timeline of what happened since the outbreak to understand the role that this organization had in managing the situation, contributed to the fight against it, and basically play a role in history, because at the end it's probably the biggest epidemics, even if not in terms of death, but in terms of public awareness of the last century, probably since the Spanish flu. So it's clearly we are making history right now. So it's really important to understand the role that such an institution, that is basically the World Institution for Health, has had during this outbreak. So I went a bit in the timeline, and I wrote it down so that we can share it together and comment it together. So the first thing I found is an article from the New York Times saying that already in December, so way before this became a big public problem, way before it even reached most of the world, there were already local health officials in Wuhan. Wuhan is a city in China where the outbreak began, and you probably all know that. They were basically withholding some information. So they knew that something was going badly, basically, but they were not providing the information to even their national authorities. Why? According to the New York Times, it's mostly because, in China, under communist rule, if something is going badly, you are held really accountable. And, failure is always, someone has to pay for failures. So even if there is a disease, an outbreak, it might be completely natural, it might be because of research and went wrong, we don't know. Even in this case, you are held accountable. So basically, officials from Wuhan were not sharing all information. We're taking some information for themselves, and this slowed down already the response, according to New York Times. Then we reached the end of the year, 2020. Around that time, some information started circulating. And actually, the first one to report it to the WHO were not the Chinese, but were the Taiwanese, according to many information. There was this email from some Taiwanese officials saying, look, something is going wrong. We saw it already with SARS in 2003. So listen to us, take action. And this first, warning was completely ignored by the World Health Organization, at least allegedly so, especially because Taiwan doesn't have a seat in the World Health Organization because of, the one country policy of China, where Taiwan is often not recognized as a country. And so basically, this first warning from Taiwan was ignored. And the day after, there was a communication from China, finally, communicating to the World Health Organization, we have something going on the ground. And we see, okay, now the WHO as a good command of the situation, they know that something is going wrong. Will they take action? That's a big question. Sadly, it didn't happen. So even after this email from China, this communication that was on December 31st, on January 1st, the WHO took basically the information that China sent it and spread it around. So basically, China was claiming that the virus was not human transmissible from human to human. which is really fun if you think about the situation which we all are. But that was what they were claiming at the beginning. We don't know if by mistake or simply to downplay the nature of the virus. And the WHO took this information and shared it, like without questioning. And that was the first instance where really, like, okay, there was already some problem with Taiwan, but you really cannot spread information from an authoritarian government without double checking it. It's the first thing that you shouldn't do if you name yourself or if you are basically the World Organization for Health. But that happened. And so basically at the beginning of these epidemics, it was still considered an epidemic. So basically a regional or national problem, not a pandemic, a global problem. The information that was shared around the world was the fact that the virus was not transmissible from human to human. And that was on January 1st. On January 10th, finally, let's say, Wuhan was completely quarantined already. And there was this communication going on, so it was clear that it was more than what was claimed at the beginning. What happened is that, according to my research, the WHO did not recommend any specific health measure for travelers to and from Wuhan. So basically they said, okay, there are how many, 40, 60 million people quarantined, but still, if you come and go from there, it's fine, like you can travel. And so this was really, really a questionable communication, right? Because we're still at the beginning of that break. Every missteps could cause any major damage. And basically what happened is that they said, look, you live in Wuhan, you work in the market, in the animal markets where the virus has started, you can travel. And no one should prevent you from traveling. So we see already like a pattern of 1 to 3 mistakes that, especially at the beginning of the story, really impacted, let's say, the spread and the speed of the epidemics. Around these days, let's all remember there was also censoring going on in China. So like there were doctors speaking up, and they were basically told like to shut down and not, share the information that they were having. So China was not only, kind of tricking the WHO or the WHO playing into the game of China, but was also censoring and like shutting down protests and information within China. On January 20th, finally, after 20 days, so more than 20 days from the first report of the epidemics, and 20 days since the WHO said, guys, you can go around, there are no problems between humans, you can do whatever you want. Finally, there was a confirmation from Chinese officials that actually the virus could spread from human to human. So 3 weeks in, they recognized the size of the problem. They said, okay, whoa, this is really dangerous. We need to take action. And here, once more, it's really weird. The WHO kept on downplaying the problem of transmission, basically saying, okay, it's true, the virus can be transmitted, but if you are symptomatic, you shouldn't be tested. So the only one that should be tested are those coming and going from Wuhan, so basically contradicting what they said before, 10 days before, or showing symptoms. So basically, if you didn't have fever, but you were maybe you caught the disease 2 weeks before, you were supposed not to be tested by anyone. And this impacted enormously the way countries started reacting to the disease. Basically, what all countries started doing is, okay, we need to check if flights are coming from Wuhan, and we need to check if people have fever. That's it. We need to check other people. So that was a huge mistake. And this continued for quite a while. So the whole transmission from asymptomatic carriers, like people that don't show symptoms, were completely downplayed. And that, I think that this was also the big problem in Europe at the end of February and early March, because these guidelines were still in place. So basically, it's unclear why this went on. Some say that it's because the World Health, the WHO is completely, was following China's request, and so didn't want to hurt China's trade with the rest of the world. Some others, just speak about mistakes. But the truth of the matter is that clearly the approach of the world leading body for health was wrong right at the beginning. And here we are like 3 weeks into the disease. So it's not even like early signs. It's, we're already clear there would have been something big. And here we are on January 20th. On January 27th, so a week after, or like around January 27th, finally, the WHO declared a global health emergency. So you say, okay, it took a month to understand it, but better late than never. What was weird in this situation is that the Director General, Mr. Tedros, basically praised China for its leadership and its response to the virus. And definitely China did a lot to respond to the virus. Like they quarantined a huge amount of people, they tested a lot of people, but however, they withheld information and they waited many weeks before warning the world. So on one side, you can understand that there is a part of truth, like they did that, we did better than maybe other countries would have done. But the whole intransparency, late notice, playing on transmission to human, from human not to human, this probably caused many lives, to be extremely clear. Probably people died because of this approach. And so it's really weird that the Director General of the WHO praised this kind of approach. And so here we are on the 27th, and then basically things went really busted. There were outbreaks all over the world, Iran, South Korea, Italy, and so on, until March 11th, when finally the WHO declared a pandemic. It named it as a pandemic. So basically we see kind of a path. It took more than 2 months to reach the acknowledgement this was a pandemic, and at least a month to get it right. Now, I don't know much about pandemics, and I'm definitely not a scientist, but it looks to me a really long time to react, a really long time to save lives. And so this is something that definitely the leadership of the organization will have to respond to once the outbreak is finished. And this is something they've been heavily criticized for. It's important to say also that, there are reasons why the WHO is not as effective as we would like it to be. First of all, it relies on member states' information. So like the WHO doesn't have any power to go to China and sample, blood or do research. They have to, first of all, ask information, and then they might have a joint mission with China. But there's already a huge limit, right? Because if you have a really proactive member state, maybe it's amazing. If you don't, as in this case, it's really more difficult to get reliable information. And it's also really important to state how the whole organization is dependent on member states. Member states fund the budget. Member states can or cannot follow guidelines from the World Health Organization. So basically, the World Health Organization has really limited power at the end of the day. However, in 2003, during the SARS outbreak, there was a really vocal leader in the organization that actually blamed China for doing exactly what it's doing right now. So they say, look, China, you're withholding information, you're putting the whole world at risk, so you better wake up. And that actually changed completely the course of the outbreak. China became way more, actually apologized, first of all, and then we became way more forthcoming. And this probably saved a lot of lives. This time, it didn't happen. Still nowadays, there is no, attack, accusation, even remarks from World Health Organization official, at least a leadership position, against China. And that's, is still quite weird. So I deep dived a bit into why this could be the reason. And one reason is that actually, despite the fact that China is not one of the biggest contributors in the world in the organization, Dr. Tedros, so basically the Director General, was appointed with a lot of support from China. So it was kind of really friendly with China from the beginning. So this might have played in the way his communication or his leadership team dealt with the situation. However, and in addition, this person, Tedros, is also being accused, back when he was the Minister of Health in Ethiopia, to cover up 3 cholera outbreaks. So again, these are all allegations. It's difficult to prove it. But if you are accused of that, how come you become the head of the World Organization for Health? It's really not intuitive. So I mean, these are all things that I believe after the break will have to be explained. Right now, it's obviously second priority. There are not the priorities to tackle the situation. But however, if you follow the timeline that outlined, and if you are getting like these hints from across the board, it's clear that something is wrong, something is not working. Then another reflection that I took from my analysis is that President Trump has been incredibly critical of the World Health Organization. Now it has frozen its funding to the organization, so it's not basically paying its membership fees to the institution, which is a bit worrying because the U.S. contribution made up to the 10% of the budget of the World Health Organization, which during an outbreak is not a clever thing to do. So Trump, sorry for that, is an idiot to do it right now. And but however, I mean, if you follow this explanation, he clearly has some reason to doubt about the operate of the body. However, it's also important mentioning that in 2018, basically the wonderful Trump administration did not appoint a new person to sit in the executive board of the organization. So basically, there's a vacant seat in the executive board from the basically American official that should be there is not been there. It's not been appointed. So the whole problem doesn't only come from China, the organization being too dependent on member states, but I believe it's a broader problem. It's the fact that right now international organizations, supranational institutions are under attack. And at the end, those that pay the price are not those in power, but it's people like us. Because we are the one that then are locked at home for like 2 months longer. We are the one with parents, grandparents, and friends that have lost their relatives and loved ones. We are the one that's suffering from that. So that's really, really pissed me off. Because it's not about, I hate when I hear populists and nationalists say, the UN is useless. They are playing like some weird plot things. It's not true. Like, they are doing what they can with the resources that they have. They are sadly victims often of member states' interest. And then what happens is that actually these member states do not even contribute or partake in the necessary planning and work of the organization. And who has to pay the price? It's us. It's not Trump. It's people like us. So, I mean, that's clearly a situation that is developing. Is clearly something that we'll have to fight for in the next decade and so, because sadly, say the globalism and the idea of having an open society that is interconnected is in retreat. And again, I think that those ones that are paying the price is us. So I want to share this reflection because for me it's really important, and for me it's really something that we should take in consideration. So having said that, I went through the timelines. I shared a couple of reflections, and then I would like to isolate 3 things that objectively the World Health Organization have done badly, so that tomorrow, so we can discuss it now, but also tomorrow in our discussion. The first one is definitely the fact that the virus could not spread human to human. So they claim it, they took the information from China, they spread it all over the world. So definitely there is some responsibility there. This is the first biggest mistake they made. They said that basically social confinement was not needed, mask, anything was not needed because the virus would not move from human to human. They thought it was from, I think, animals to humans. And so this clearly impacted a lot our lives. Second, they suggested to do only tampons, to only check those that came from Wuhan or those that showed symptoms. This left completely untouched the whole category of people that are not showing symptoms. And those are between 1/3 to 2/3 of the overall people infected. So another huge mistake. Basically here, we're talking about two mistakes that have multiplied like by, I can't even estimate it, the impact of the epidemics. And the third one is that objectively, they never called upon China. Starting from disregarding completely Taiwan, they had a lot of information that is actually best practice to share with the world because they already dealt with SARS, to the fact that China objectively withheld information. Objectively, they knew before January about this problem. Objectively, they gave false information and they spread lies around. And this, is not about any other consideration about China. This is a pure fact. And still nowadays, they are claiming, I read an article, they say actually the virus came from Europe. It was there before it was at home. So, clearly they keep on playing this role. And it is incredible that the World Health Organization doesn't take a stance on that. So I wanted to isolate these three big problems. And now I want to hear from you. So I spoke a lot. Now I'm going on Facebook and around to see if you have any comment and what you believe about this situation. Because I have a pretty solid idea of what went on. But I would like to hear from you. So I see on Facebook, Instagram, there were a lot of comments. I see a comment from Omis again saying, it is not about destroy what we have constructed, it's about improving it. We don't need easy answers, we need good solutions. So Omis, you have wonderful, wonderful slogans, and I agree with you. Clearly the organization doesn't work. Clearly the whole UN system doesn't work as it is now. But the solution is not to dismantle it, is to reform it, is to make it, for example, democratic, is to make sure that it has binding power in and above nation states, because it's not the case right now. So right now, it's a bit like, for Europeans, it's really easy to understand because the European Union has a lot of these limits as well. Whenever member states, countries, have the last say on something, everything else, like supranational organization, international organization, do not have real power. They can do their best, but they have to be super careful not to take side. They have to be super careful to make all the big guys happy in the room. And that's a huge limit. So for me, talking about the UN as a whole, we need to make it democratic. We need to make it able to take binding decision and independent decision over member states. And this is not happening right now. And until this doesn't happen, we are all in a bad situation. And I see a comment from probably someone from Europe, United States of Europe. Look, I don't care if we unite in Europe or elsewhere. I believe actually that for me, if there's someone willing to share sovereignty and be like on the same boat with me from another continent, I'd be super happy to do so. I don't care about geography. Geography doesn't matter today. Like we are talking from, with people from all over the world, and they believe in the same hopes and dreams that I share. What matters to me is that we share values and that we are ready to take the sacrifices, because obviously, if you really want to create something that goes beyond borders, you need to be able to give competencies and powers to this body, and that has to be empowered democratically. But right now, it's not happening. It's not happening in the UN for sure, but even in other supranational institutions, they are all subject to member states. Let's be all clear. Like, they are no institutions, they are independent. Like, whenever a crisis hit, and all Europeans following me are really, really aware of that. Whenever a crisis hit, everyone thinks about themselves. And this shouldn't be the case. If not, we are not really moving forward. We are going back 70 years at a time. So I just wanted to share that because I think that is the most important point. And I followed from the comments of Omis and Marco Manconi. And I like the answer. That's the reason why I'm entering now. I'm checking if there are other comments that I can quickly address. So I see from Amsterdam, France commenting movements like now are part of the solution. To catalyze public opinion through social campaigns using the new media can really make a change in the way we manage our world. I agree with you, France, and I think that is a bit what we're discussing about in the last 10 minutes. This is exactly what's going on right now. I mean, if we don't mobilize citizens across borders, we will not be able to change anything. We will not be able to tackle these big challenges that we are facing. I mean, only think about COVID, the situation we are into. Every country is trying to adopt its own strategy. I don't understand why. Are we like, are they testing their approach on us, on citizens? Why is the case that countries like France and Italy, they share like borders and everything, don't have like a common approach to the disease? Or like Germany and Sweden, or the US and Canada? Like, how come? How is it possible that 3-4 months into the epidemics, still nowadays, each country is doing its own thing? What if I'm lucky, I'm on the right side of the border, I survive. If I'm unlucky, I struggle as crazy. This is what nation states are saying. I think this is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. And the annoying thing that we're experiencing right now. Like, we see that in every fucking country there is a fucking different approach. Sorry if I'm vulgar, but this is the case. I don't understand why in Italy, in France, in Tunisia, or in Mexico, or in the US, we are doing different things. I understand that we might be at different stages in the game. I understand that there might be different, social construct to tackle, different socioeconomic factor to take into consideration. But it's completely random. It completely depends on the belief of the executive, on what the executive of the government believes is the right thing to do. I don't see how we can continue like this. So I really hope that this crisis is teaching us how important it is to act as a globe, as a world, as a planet, when there are big planetary problems hitting us. Of course, we don't need to standardize the way we collect trash. Like, I don't care. This is something that maybe works differently in 10,000 different cities, works every time better in a different way. I don't know. But it's clear that when we have a fucking pandemics or climate change is hitting us, we need to work together. So this is for me fundamental. And I want to say it again, it's not about geography, it's not about being a cluster of countries like sharing a border. It's really about finding the people that believe in what you believe, finding people from all over the world that shares your hopes and dreams, and working together. This is what you're trying to do now, and I hope this is what the world will do at a certain point. At institutional level, at civic level, at political level, I don't know. But we really need to get our act together and work together. Sorry if I went into this long rant after reading the comments from Amsterdam. I like that we have a really active commenter from Indonesia. Indonesia say that we are all together. I agree. There is a legalized weed. There is not really the theme of the discussion, but why not? I'm scrolling to see if there are other comments. There is a good comment from Oliver saying, I just love how for the past few years, experts have been saying another outbreak of a new disease will undoubtedly happen, but governments didn't listen. I agree with you. It's since 2003 that everyone is getting ready for a new outbreak, or at least they were supposed to do so after SARS. And there were plans, there were mobilization, there were funds, but then nothing happened. And so these are really, really big limit of our system and of our leaders. I'm scrolling also here to see if there are other comments. No, I think that we are done. I like the comment from Omis. Imagine one day if we discover life in other planets, how we're going to introduce us globally. That stuff. Probably like there will be like 50 different ways. we will not decide together. No, but this is clearly a perfect example. I don't know if it's likely or not, but like everything that we're living right now is already a perfect example of how our society is global. The problems that we tackle are global. Also, the opportunities that we face are global. Because to be fair, if you speak English, you could be working across borders. You could be moving around if you speak other languages. So society is not only about responding to threats, but also like taking opportunities, actually using them. But we live right now in a global society, so we really need to understand how we can basically do more than just share content on social media and have a lot of friends from all over the world, but actually how we can work together with the positive side and negative sides. Because as I said before, whenever a crisis hits, people are like, okay, goodbye to integration, goodbye to supranational bodies. It's I only care about myself, and that's something that we need to learn how to do. Like, even if we come from a really rich country, but we see a global epidemic, we should be ready to allocate part of our budgets to support the struggle in other parts of the world, and not only when the crisis has passed, but before. And that's a tough situation right now. Many voters will tell you how you come to that, but because we don't have the mindset yet for that, and we need to get there. So I wanted to share this reasoning. I'm sorry if I ranted a bit all over the place, but these are things that are really, really important to me, and I hope that they will become important to you as well as we get to know each other better, because I think this is a bit the future for our society. And I mean, we can be young or less young, but hopefully we still have time ahead of us, and we can't waste it. We can't waste it. Already too much time has been wasted. I don't want to hear any more about, maybe when the little institutions change there, maybe we can be a bit nicer to each other. No, we need to fucking change the way we think. We need to fucking change the way we work. We need to really think beyond our current, I vote for this person because then I get a bit more in my pockets. It doesn't work anymore. And I want to say something, because I receive a lot of comments from pro-European people. I'm really happy about it. But what I would like to ask you is, why you only speak about Europe? At a certain point, we need to understand that there are people sharing our same dreams in the US, in the UK, in Africa, in South America, in Indonesia, in Australia, and we need to work with them. I don't care if they are 5 hours away instead of 1 hour away in terms of flight. I can work with them. I can share the same passion with them. I have people in now, they are from every corner of the world, and they actually believe what I believe way more than my neighborhood here in Brussels. And I want to work with them. I want to build something with them. I don't want to continue this game and say, look, the best thing I can think about is Europe. Why Europe? I mean, Europe is wonderful, but why Russians can't work with us? Why South African can share a future with us? So please understand that we need to really think beyond what we are thinking right now. And I hope that, for example, the talk we had with Joshua Wong from Hong Kong shows that. The fact that people in Hong Kong are suffering under an authoritarian ruler is something that should concern all of us. It's not because they are far away that it doesn't concern us. We live in a globalized world. If they lose the democratic rights, the next in line might be us. So we need to understand that it's not about sharing a border. It's not about having a friend that lives in the country. It's about the fact that we are in this together. And institutions, politics, civil society, the private sector should really understand that. So I really went beyond my time and beyond questions. I venture a bit everywhere. I hope you liked it. I'm sorry if maybe the connection is not perfect sometimes, or the audio is not perfect, but Wi-Fi is difficult for all of us. I hope you enjoyed this talk. Please leave me any feedback under my video. Please send me messages. I'm super happy to continue the discussion. And tomorrow, 6 p.m., we have the talk with the chief scientist from the World Health Organization. So check the person or the organization that I bash for half an hour. So it's going to be really fun, and I suggest you to join. And then on Thursday, if you're a member of Now, you can join the community chat where we're gonna cover the history of now and why now is relevant and what we want to do after, what are the next campaigns. Having said that, I can show actually how long I have my hair now. I really didn't want to, but I understand that it's part of the game. And I wish you a wonderful evening, and let's stay in touch. Bye-bye.